Okay, welcome back everybody to the webinar series on Pirkei Avos and happy Lag BINAr. We are holding Mishna Gimel in the first chapter of Pirkei Avos, and perhaps at the end we'll try and connect this to the auspicious day of Lag BINAr. So the Mishnah says as follows. We'll read it inside and then we'll explain it. Antigenoish ish soichoi kibel mishimen hatzadik. So we're going through now in the Pirkei Avos in the first chapter, the tradition, the passing over of the Torah from generation to generation, starting off from Moshe Rabbeinu all the way to Anshe Knesset Hagdola, ending off with Shimon HaTzadik. So Antigenoish Isoichai, he received the Torah from Shimon HaTzadik. Hu Hoya Omer, Antigenoish Isoichai used to say, Al tiyu chavadim hamshamshim esarav al manas lekabel pras. Don't be like servants, like slaves who serve their master in order to get reward. Ella, rather, have chavadim, be like slaves. When serving Hashem, you should be like slave, which serves their master not to get reward. That's the first thing that he used to say. The second thing that he used to say was, Vihi moira shamayim aleichem, that the fear of heaven should be upon you. So first of all, what does it mean when it says, don't be like avodim, don't be like slaves that serve their master in order to get pras, in order to get reward? Generally, the normal word for reward, for payment, is schar. Schar means payment, schar means reward. Why does the Mishnah choose to use the word pras? So the Rav, the Bartanura, explains as follows, that the word pras actually doesn't mean the normal word of payment, like when someone does a job and they get paid as a reward for what they did. Pras means when, for the example which he brings, like a child which did something for his parents and the parents were proud, so they give him a prize, meaning something that he doesn't necessarily have to give the child, or necessarily the child deserves 100%. It's not like he did something that costs this amount of money and therefore he's getting paid this amount of money. Rather, it's because he generally made the parent proud, so the parent gives him a prize. So too, what it's saying over here is, it's not saying don't be like somebody which serves Hashem and demands payment. That's such an arrogance that the Mishnah doesn't even need the Mishnah does not even need to negate that. To be like a Jew which serves Hashem and demands payment for what he does, as if like I deserve everything that I get. That's such an arrogance that the Mishnah does not even need to talk about that. What the Mishnah is negating, what the Mishnah is saying not to be like somebody which serves their master, understands and not necessarily did enough to get paid. It's not like a work and payment relationship, but he wants at least some sort of benefit, some sort of thing that since the master is proud of what he did, so he should give him some extra reward. And that's what the Mishnah is saying. Don't be like that slave. Rather, serve Hashem out of love. Serve Hashem only for the sake of serving Hashem, because you have a love, an avas Hashem, a love towards Hashem. The second statement in the Mishnah is Vihi moira shamayim aleichem, have fear of heaven upon you. How does that come into this Mishnah? Because the first half of the Mishnah is saying Antigenoish Isoichai is telling us to love Hashem, to serve Hashem out of ava, serve Hashem out of love. The second statement is that it's not enough only to have avas Hashem, it's not enough only to serve Hashem out of love. Rather, it's also important to have yiras Hashem, to fear Hashem. Why is that so important? So again, the Rav explains that avas Hashem brings you to keep the mitzvahs aseh, brings you to keep positive commandments, to do mitzvahs, to fulfill Hashem's commandments, to put on tefillin, to keep Shabbos, etc., etc. Fear of God, fear of Hashem, that brings you to not transgress something that Hashem said not to do, to not eat something that's not kosher, to not break Shabbos, etc., etc. So in order to be a complete servant of Hashem, in order to serve Hashem in a proper way, need to have both components. You need to have avas Hashem, love of Hashem, which brings you to fulfill His commandments, and you need to have yiras Hashem, which brings you to not do what Hashem does not want you to do. Just to explain what he means a little bit, because if you think about it, love of Hashem, if somebody loves somebody, that also automatically includes that you shouldn't do what He doesn't want you to do. And so too, if someone fears someone, that automatically brings you to do also what they want you to do. So we need to really clarify, why do you need both? Why is avas Hashem bring you towards mitzvahs haseh, positive commandments, and why Yiras Hashem is specifically for negative commandments. And I think that the answer is that it's true that if you only have Avos Hashem, that will also bring you to not do what Hashem says not to do. However, love is expressed. When is it felt? When is it expressed truly? By doing something. Yiras Hashem, fear of somebody, is expressed and is felt by not doing something. Although it will bring to both, but each one expresses expresses something specific. When you have Avos Hashem, that is expressed by doing what Hashem wants. When you have Yiras Hashem, that is more expressed by doing what Hashem said, by not doing what Hashem says not to do. Now, just to put this Mishnah into perspective, there was two students of Antigonish Isoichai. One of them, his name was Tzaddik, who actually totally misunderstood this Mishnah. They said that if our rabbis are saying such a thing, that we shouldn't serve Hashem in order to get reward, that means that they probably don't really believe that there is reward. They probably don't believe in the world to come or in the resurrection of the dead, where we get the ultimate reward. So they ended up actually straying from the path, and Tzaddik established a whole new way of Judaism called Stukim, people which were heretics, people which didn't believe in the rabbis. So just to clarify, what it says in the Mishnah, it doesn't mean that we're not going to get reward. Believing in reward and punishment is one of the 13 principles of our faith, the Yud Gimel Ikrim. However, what it means to say is that you shouldn't serve Hashem in order to get reward. The reward will be there, but that's not the reason why we serve Hashem. An interesting question that's brought down on this Mishnah is that there are many mitzvahs in the Torah, and the way the Torah writes it is, do the mitzvah in order to get this reward. For example, the mitzvah of honoring your father and mother. It says, Kabed es avicha ve'esimecha, honor your father and mother. Leman, in order, yarichun yomecha, that Hashem will lengthen your days, Hashem will give you a long life. So it seems like it's clear in the Torah that it's not such an issue to serve Hashem in order to get a reward. On the contrary, that is the way the Torah writes it. Do this and this in order to get this and this. And the answer lies in the example that the Mishnah picks. Al tiyu ka'avodim, don't be like servants. When you say a slave, the Gemara says that avda behefkeira nichalei. A slave, what it means when somebody's a slave to a master, that means he doesn't really want to be there. He doesn't really want to serve the master. He would rather be free. He would rather do what he wants to do. He needs some sort of incentive. He needs some sort of reason to serve the master. And therefore the Torah in the Psukim is referring to a regular Jew on a low level, that they're a slave. Really, they would rather not keep the mitzvahs. And they have to be bought, they have to be convinced to keep the mitzvahs. And that's why the Torah is talking to the average Jew. So the Torah says, keep the mitzvahs in order to get a reward. However, as we mentioned, Pirkei Avos is milsa de chasidusa, which means Pirkei Avos is directed towards pious individuals, towards an individual that wants to go beyond their letter of the law. If somebody wants to grow in their service to God, if someone wants to become more of a chassid, which goes l'fnim mishuras hadin, then Pirkei Avos is telling him, don't be like a slave. Don't be like somebody which would rather not do it and is only doing it for the reward. Rather, serve Hashem out of love, graduate to a higher level of service to Hashem, serve Hashem out of pure love, and that should be the only reason why you're serving Hashem. What's still not understood is there's a Gemara in Tractate Rosh Hashanah, Masechtas Rosh Hashanah, that says that if somebody gives tzedakah, somebody gives charity, and says that I'm giving charity to this poor person, and he actually says, he verbalizes that I'm giving you charity in order, the example that the Gemara brings is in order that my son should live, or in order that I should merit to the world to come, says the Gemara, this person is considered a tzaddik gomer. He's considered 100% righteous. So what's going on over here? Here it's not talking about an average Jew. Here it's talking about a tzaddik gomer, somebody who's completely 100% righteous. So you can't give the same answer. Why is giving charity good if you explicitly say that I'm doing it in order to get this and this reward? And the answer is that only applies to that specific case of tzedakah. Because it says in the Gemara Baba Basra, Masechtas Baba Basra, that by giving tzedakah, you merit to 6 brachas, 6 special blessings. However, if when giving tzedakah, you say words of encouragement, you say words of comfort to the poor person, you merit to 11 brachas, to 11 blessings. And the reason is because when it comes to charity, in a way, even more important than how much you're giving is the way you give it, is making the poor person feel comfortable, feel not like a poor person which is just receiving charity from you. Rather, you should make him feel important. You should encourage him. And therefore, when you tell a poor person that I'm giving you charity in order to merit long life for my son, or in order that I should merit to the world to come, then the poor person feels like he's not a receiver, rather he's a giver. That through him, he is giving you this tremendous reward, that through him you are meriting to the world to come, you are meriting that your son should live. So it doesn't mean that the completely righteous person is really giving charity in order to get that reward. He's just saying that. He's saying that in order to make the poor person feel better, that the poor person shouldn't feel like a receiver, rather like a giver, that he's actually meriting this person with such a tremendous reward. The last line of the Mishnah, which says, Vihi moira shamayim aleichem, that you should fear God, at first glance, it's very not understood what's it doing in Pirkei Avos. Pirkei Avos, the ethics of our fathers, as we said, is milsa de chasidusai, is going beyond the letter of the law. Fearing God is a mitzvah in the Torah. That you have, it's one of the positive commandments, one of the 613 commandments, that we are commanded to fear God. That's not going beyond the letter of the law. That is the letter of the law. That is the law, that you have to fear God. So what is this Mishnah adding? What is it referring to that you have to fear God? And the answer is that in Kabbalah it explains that there are two levels in fear of God. There's what's called yirat hata, the lower level of fear, and yirei ilah, the higher level of fear. Yirat hata, the lower level of fear, is what every single Jew is commanded to have, which is to fear Hashem and to do His mitzvahs, and to fear that if I don't do the mitzvahs, Hashem will punish me, or you're afraid to rebel against Hashem because Hashem is so great. That's the basic level of fear that every single Jew is commanded to have. Then there's a higher level of fear, yirei ilah. The higher level of fear is not about rebelling against God necessarily or doing something wrong. Rather, it's about feeling that in the presence of Hashem, I am absolutely nothing. I am totally subservient. The example that's given is when you walk into the room and there's a very prestigious person in there, or a great tzaddik, a great righteous person. When you walk into the room, you feel like there's no place for you there. You feel like you're totally subservient to this person. You're totally lost. There's no place for a sense of self in that room. It's not about will I disobey him or not? It's about, do I have my own independent existence or not? And that's what it means, yirei ilah, feeling that you're in the presence of Hashem, and in the presence of Hashem, there is only God. There is only Him, and there's nothing else, including myself. I totally put myself on the side and don't feel myself at all. And that's a higher level of yira, a higher level of fear that Pirkei Avos, milsa de chasidusa, words for someone who's trying to be righteous, demands they should graduate from just a basic level of fear, a fear of rebelling against Hashem, to a fear which is about not feeling yourself at all and feeling totally and 100% subservient to God. Just to end off, the topic of today's Mishnah was Ava v'yira, love and fear of Hashem. And the Rambam explains, how does someone come to Ava v'yira? How does someone bring himself to love and fear Hashem? Through understanding the greatness of God, through contemplating and thinking about how great Hashem is. That will then develop within you a tremendous love for Hashem and a tremendous fear for Hashem. And we can perhaps say that's the connection between this Mishnah and Lag BaOmer. On Lag BaOmer, we all know that it's the yard site of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, who authored the Zohar, who brought the spreading of mysticism of Kabbalah in this world. And one of the ways of developing an awareness of the greatness of Hashem is the study of Kabbalah, is the study of Pnimiyus HaTorah, of the inner parts of Torah. Understanding how God works, understanding the spiritual world, understanding the infinite greatness of God, which Kabbalah explains. So through studying Kabbalah, through studying the Torah of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the merit of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai should merit us to develop a true love and fear of Hashem, to serve Hashem properly, and to bring all the tremendous brachas that the day of Lag BaOmer brings. Have a great day. Feel free to comment and to ask questions.